Today, I hope to give you some more insights into relationships and to help you to understand possibly why we are attracted to certain people in our life and why you may be repelled or in conflict to some other people in life. You see, we're just simply these collective communal beings. We can thrive when we're together. So this is really powerful for us to recognize and how exactly we're interacting with others and also how we can better interact with others. And Ayurveda gives us a wonderful lens in which we can start to see and improve the ways that we relate to each other. But before I tell you more, let me welcome you to our channel for holistic lifestyle and well-being. My name is Amrita Devi, and if you'd like to find out more, do subscribe to our channel and do like and comment under the video, because this all helps our small channel to grow so we can create more video content for you. So we know it's summer. It's very hot again today here, and the emotions associated with this time of the year are having fun, being in joy. And then later in summer, we have more of a harvest period. But summer is when there's more light and there's more sound, and we give ourselves time with our loved ones, time to slow down. This may be time of deepening of our own service and knowledge, a deepening of connection to others, maybe just a few or maybe a couple of others. As humans, we're all about connection. And one of the things that modern behavioral scientists show is that our habits are not our own. We are communal creatures, and we actually have the habits of 5 people that we interact in with most. That's right. So the circle of people around you, you will have habits of those people that you surround yourselves with. We're very mindful of who we're interacting with the most and who influences us. Is very important. And this maybe helps us to look at why we may not be able to create habits in the way that we want to, because we are not in an environment where the people around us are in healthy habits and they're not connected with themselves, etc., etc. So this is really powerful to pay attention to. We're all about connection. And we think about human connection quite a lot as well. We perish when we are not connected to humans. So we spend a lot of time and energy thinking or analyzing, grieving, or celebrating our relationships. Isn't that true? I need to check in with da da da, or I wonder how da 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 is doing. Like, we're constantly thinking about how others are. So we benefit from recognizing our healthy and unhealthy patterns around that. So getting clear about what you can offer others in relationships and join the compassionate and fun conversations that revolve around why we need each other and how we can bring out the best in each other. And we can use the doshas as a great tool to understand ourselves and to help us understand others too. We can find out our strengths and their strengths, and also our weaknesses and their weaknesses. And we're going to take a closer look at that. So tell me, who are you? What's your dosha? Write down your doshic makeup, please. So sometimes people are one dosha, physically, and then another dosha mentally or personally. Maybe you've noticed that too. So then write down the one person that you're in relationship with now, and that you have an easeful relationship with that person. You enjoy hanging out with them, and then write down how you feel when you're around them. Just a few general words. And then we're going to think about someone that's maybe it feels challenging to be in relationship with them. And then you're going to write down some words and how you feel with that person. So let's start talking about these different characteristics that show up in different doshas. So Vata is that air and space element combined, and the physical characteristics of Vata are thin, bony, dry skin, and hair that is frizzy, scanty sweat. They kind of have frizzy hair, and this is a Vata. They have those qualities of cold, dry, light, mobile, subtle. And when Vata is in balance, the personality, it shows up as being very creative, very active, spontaneous, inspired, enthusiastic, and an out-of-the-box thinker. There is a balance and an imbalance of the personality. So out of balance, the Vata person feels anxious, they're flighty, sensitive, fearful, disorganized, and overwhelmed. And when we look at being in the fight, flight, or freeze state of mind of the autonomic nervous system, we would say that this predominant nervous system would go into flight. That's right, they would disappear, they would run away. This particular type of dosha, their mind often asks, what's wrong with me? And they turn it towards themselves a lot. And each dosha has a way that they isolate. Remember, we all talked about we are social creatures and we need each other to feel connected, and really it's really important how we each have our own way in which we tend to isolate. So Vata predominant personalities tend to isolate because they don't feel like they belong, and they really need an invitation to feel included. And if there is a group of people, they might not automatically feel like they're included unless someone says, come and be with us. You know, it's not assumed for the Vata that in their mind, they tend to be quick talkers and express themselves quickly over and over again. And you may know someone that's a very high Vata, and they will be liked by many people. So Pitta is made up of fire and water, and the physical characteristics of Pitta are to have a medium build. They tend to have muscle, they might have freckles, and their skin gets red and burns easily in the sun, and they tend to have these intense eyes. They have medium, sharp noses, oily, bright, and spreading qualities in their body, in their mind. So when Pitta is balanced, it shows up as someone that's driven, they're competitive, they're organized, they're focused, they're motivated and radiant. And when they're out of balance, they show up as being jealous, flight, or freeze mode. They're the ones that are most likely to be fighting, and they can focus more on protection and providing instead of that romantic passion, not as those creative and dreamy types. They like to give us gifts, tangible things, and the fire and water aspect can kind of be antagonistic. So we're going to talk about that later. But in relationships, Pittas tend to ask, what's wrong with you? And when they're saying that, they're pointing outwards. And so they often tend to isolate themselves in that way, where they're asking, why aren't you doing what I want you to do with other people? Kapha is made up of earth and water elements. So kathas are more heavier in qualities. They're more denser and more physically well built. And they tend to gain weight more easily. They sweat more easily. They're slower in their body movements and actions. Their qualities are cloudy, soft, static, and they have a tendency for heaviness, slowness. They're also gentle, loving, loyal, relaxed, content, stable, and joyful, and they have amazing stamina. So these are the people that if they skip a meal, it's not a problem for them. But Pitta, watch out if they get hungry. They're fighters and will blow. But Kaphas, they're more stable. So out of balance Kaphas, they tend to get more attached to the ideas and things that they get more lethargic, they're lazy, drained, and they have this dullness that can creep up in relationships. So Kapha, they tend to be the ones that freeze and they don't do anything. They won't say anything. They just hold it in tight and wait for the storm to pass in conflict in relationships. Kapha, they ask you if something is wrong. They're really stable in relationships and they don't get ruffled too easily in general. So I just want to point out that we have all three of these doshas. We're not just one. And these are generalizations. So please don't take it to heart. This is purely meant for us to really just experience and see if we can see ourselves, if we can see others in these, and so you can experience it on your own. So there are no incompatibilities when we're talking about the doshas as they interact in each other. It's not like astrological horoscopes or anything. There is no wrong relationships. It's just interesting to look at these, the qualities that we can have and how they interact with each other and how we can bring them more into harmony, which is what we all want. So every combination is valid and wonderful. When we're looking at Vatas and Vatas having relationships, wow, they can talk around and around things. There could be a lack of structure, like who's going to pick up the kids or who's going to do the dishes or who's doing things. It needs structure. And this can be hard to get to these basic duties in a structured way, in an organized way. So taking things well in advance is the best way to help this kind of relationship. So we want to bring in more stability. We want to bring in more organization and systems for daily life, and also to prioritize rest. So making downtime is a priority for these two. When Pitta and Pitta are in relation together, there's a lot of intensity, there's a lot of competition in this type of relationship, and having extreme highs and lows. And so bringing in more play, creativity, leisure, and appreciation can be really, really powerful. And one thing is to make sure that you're not competing with your partner in like really negative way, trying to up one and all the time, instead of appreciating what they do for you. And this can devastate any relationship. So bring in praise and thank them and for all that they're doing. And by the way, I just learned recently that appreciation is the number one piece of success in happy relationships. So if you feel appreciated and respected by your partner, you're going to have a strong relationship, no matter what dosha you are. Kapha and Kapha bring in projects, goals, movement. There can be a lot of stagnation otherwise in this kind of relationship. that can reinforce each other's tendency for laziness, like not really inspiring each other to grow so much. But more than this, you want to grow, you want to change things up sometimes. So get into this positive structure where you get out and walk with each other each morning, or you do some really vigorous exercise rather than take a stroll. So this kind of things can really balance this type of partnership. So we're going to look at interdoshal relationships, Vata and Pitta. Let's look at these elements when they get together. So we've got air, right, and space, and fire and water. These combinations can bring in a lot of spontaneity, a lot of creativity. And that what can be challenging in this type of relation is that there can be a lot of like pedestalizing the person, or one feeling really hurt by the other one, so therefore a lot of frustration, because one's all over the place and the other one is very organized. So one might be making all of the decisions while the other one doesn't make any decisions. So bring in more grounding qualities for both of you, and that could be structured time together, especially in nature, could be really important for you. And then we have Vata and Kapha. So this combination is air and space and earth and water. So there lacks a bit of fire. And Kapha brings in the grounding, nurturing quality. Vata helps with creativity and spontaneity, that lightness. And the frustrations might come in from Kapha, feeling like the Vata person lacks in endurance and is very grounded. And then Vata might think that the other one is very grounded and not spontaneous enough. So the way that you really hit it off together is that you feel really supported with each other, and you love the fact that you have this ability to connect with each other. Pitta and Kapha. If you have water and fire and earth and water, there's a lot of water. But what they do lack is air and space. So Pitta can help motivate Kapha. However, Kapha energy is that of groundedness. So it can be kind of extinguishing for Pitta fire. The Pitta fire can sometimes boil the Kapha water and kind of leaves them frustrated and imploding. So there is a tendency towards emotional flooding, which with all this water, you can see how that can happen. So we need to ask questions like, how do we connect to the other person without so much intensity? And this will be a really good practice for this relationship. Life is more wonderful with us all connecting in our uniqueness. So how should we go back to this first part of the worksheet where we wrote down the person that we have an easeful relationship with and the person that you have the most challenging relationship? Let's suppose or guess what the constitution of that person is, and then see if there's any insights from what you just learned about the combinations of those doshas. See if there's a little insight. And so for these last minutes, let's connect. Let's put those into practice and see if you can come up with some nice solutions and something that you're taking away from today's meeting.